Hi, welcome back to another episode on the Healthy Wisdom series with Dr. Jen Chen. Healthy Wisdomers, are you suffering from overthinking? I am truly guilty of overly stimulating my brain, and it shows in my had a gray hair. I mean, it's no wonder because at my clinic, the minute my patients walk through the doors, I am totally focused on them right from the get-go. I usually have to begin with a quick analysis of their walk as well as, assessing quickly their mental state, such as any stress levels that are a little bit off, as well as, a lot of physical stuff. Like we have to do range of motion, we have to do some palpation, we have to literally come up based on all that information, which areas that I have to adjust the day of, to bring back their energy levels. And then, of course, I want to leave them better than when they came in. So I want them to get back to their daily activities and be able to do whatever their heart desires. Now, that's a lot of thinking, wouldn't you say? Well, to add to this intellectual strain and stimulation, I'm taking 12 to 18 hours of traditional Chinese medicine courses on my days off. So that's an incredible amount of brain juices that I have to use up. Which brings me to today's topic about excessive mental work and what organ gets affected by that. Now, excessive mental work, I'm talking in the context of worry, dwelling, focusing excessively on something. And these are emotions that are associated with the organ, the spleen. Now, who would have thunk? Because in Western medicine, well, at least based on my own training, we only learned very limited amount of information on the spleen. Mainly its role in red blood cell, white blood cells, platelets, and its main function in removing old and damaged blood cells. So it really didn't have any connection to any types of emotions because its role is mainly a little bit more lymphatic and immune system related. So when I thought emotions, it would have never occurred to me that the spleen would have a function in there. Yet in traditional Chinese medicine, the spleen is linked to emotions, like almost as one of its major functions. And other than the fact that it's also got major functions in transformation and transportation of nutrients and its role in absorption, the spleen is also connected with the muscles, the mouth, and the lips. So I don't know about you, but the spleen sounds kind of important according to the traditional Chinese medicine perspective on things, right? So here's a fun fact. Now, if you have swollen eyelids that you don't know why, well, maybe it's due to a spleen deficiency of some sorts. So in other words, there's a spleen issue that you might want to look into. And you probably could start by looking at some digestive issues. Now, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense that excessive worry or overthinking can probably weaken our body's natural ability to digest food or any type of drink, such as when studying for exams or preparing for an interview. And much like that, we might also find it difficult to digest or accept a situation or a life event. This is where we can find a connection between the body and the mind, where the emotions and thoughts are intertwined in such a way. So therefore, any lack of ease towards an experience that tends to then affect our digestion will result in making us tired or feel really fatigued or lethargic. And as a result, we're much less able to concentrate because it's hard to let go of these emotions. And one will tend to internalize these emotions or thoughts. So it's interesting to note that a weak spleen can also be the cause of a stubborn weight problem. And it's because we tend to carry with us that excess baggage that we are unable to let go of. So a lot of times, emotional issues that don't go or go unresolved, those will tend to become baggage as well. So it's not just the physical weight, but also the emotional weight. Remember back in one of the episodes where I had mentioned after giving birth to my first child, I had a really, really difficult time shaking off the extra 25 pounds that I was carrying. Well, I do find that after kind of going back and thinking about it a little bit, in a little more detail, in terms of, sort of the spleen and, maybe overthinking and worry and, overly focusing on certain things, I actually did trace back my own thoughts, because I do keep a journal, and I do write a lot of things down, and therefore I'm able to kind of sometimes trace back to certain experiences that I've had in the past and be able to kind of connect the dots that way. But anyway, so what happened was I myself was probably suffering from a little bit of postpartum, and it was accentuated because I, at the time, was unable to produce breast milk at the rate that, say, other friends of mine who also had babies at the same time, they were able to provide for their baby, and I felt inadequate. I would say that's probably one of the stressors for me at the time. And I remember just every time I was waking up, and I was eating, I was constantly thinking about why is it that I can't produce breast milk like everybody else? Like, was I doing something? Was I not doing something? Like, I was just so anxious and worried about what it was. Honestly, like, it's a problem that a lot of women have. And I wasn't the only one, but in that moment, I felt like I was the only one in the world that could not provide for her child. So it was a very difficult time. And I feel that's probably what precipitated the fact that the weight, the excess baggage lingered for a solid 8 months probably before I started seeing the weight finally shed, because by then I felt very comfortable giving my child some formulated milk, and that was fairly good for him at the time, because at that point in time, I had no drop of any signs of any breast milk. And so I think my mind and body kind of decided to work together again and maybe release some of that worry and anxiety. And I think that was when finally everything kind of cleared up and it became much more united as a front. And I was then able to, through, of course, a lot of exercise and hard work and also watching what I ate, I was able to then finally shed that weight. And of course, I always say, like, the mind has to be in a very focused way. It has to make it a priority. And I think at that point in time, I wasn't worried about being able to feed my child, and the focus then turned into prioritizing care for myself and being able to return my body to its pre-pregnancy state so that I may work towards, or our family could work towards, getting pregnant for another child. So I wanted to have my body in its best of state before doing that. In some ways, this new lens has given me an opportunity to look deeper at my body for some answers that I previously couldn't explain. And I'm hoping that it'll give you some potential insights as well. All right, Healthy Wisdomers, it's been a pleasure to once again share this knowledge with you today. Please take a minute to subscribe, follow, and rate this episode. And invite your friends to join us on this journey. Remember, you are amazing, and there's no one else like you. This is the Healthy Wisdom Series with Dr. Jen Chen. I'll catch you guys on the next.